10 steps behind you, Indira Kyilybayeva.
Look at this scarf. I have been wearing it for the last 23 years.
Wow.
It's long and itchy, but this thing is very dear to me. I got it from my math teacher when I was 11. She gave me a big pile of second-hand clothing, and she said, well, this is not new, but it's clean, and considering the circumstances, you probably need this. And considering the circumstances, it was true. And what were the circumstances? I was raised by a single mother, and I was officially the poorest kid in my entire school. And talking about circumstances, when my mother was 37, she faced quite an unusual situation. She had no higher education, she had no job, she had no registration in the city, she had no place to live, and she was pregnant with me. And being an optimist, my mother decided, well, I don't have all these things, but I will have this baby. And that's how I was born. She could have worked as a technologist, but it required some night shifts, and also she had no registration, remember? And that's why, as a temporary solution, she decided to work washing floors in a factory. And what was intended to be a temporary solution became a permanent one. And my mother was stuck doing this job for the next 16 years to raise me, to give me education. Now, when my kids ask me about my childhood, they're just horrified. What do you mean you never had birthday parties and never had birthday presents and you never been to restaurants and you never been abroad as a child and you never had a bike? Your childhood is just so miserable. And to prove them wrong, I told them another stories of war memories, of funny memories. I told them how when I was 3 years old, we were living in this tiny house. Probably it was not even a house. I still think that it was like a barn or summer kitchen because it was so freezingly cold inside. We were cuddling with my mom under 3 blankets, and she read me many books, many children's books. And even though it was very cold inside, this is my warmest childhood memory. And I told my kids another stories. When I was 13, I was doing homework in darkness because we failed to pay our electricity bill. So the electrician just came and cut us off. And it was funny to do the homework, surrounded by candles. And it was also funny when I was 16, I fainted in the middle of the school because, well, I was hungry and my mom was fired by that time and she was not working for maybe 6 months and it was literally nothing to eat. And I'm thinking that time, when I was 16, it probably was the best time just to stop trying and just to drop out of school and start working, maybe waitressing or maybe working as my mom, washing floors. And by doing so, I would just repeat that intergenerational poverty, that vicious circle. And that term, intergenerational poverty, I learned from a great woman, Tara Siddiqui. She's living in Colorado and she's trying to fight poverty in her own community. I watched TED Talk with her. She said she established this big shelter for poor people. And one day in this shelter, she met a young lady, Linda. this young lady, she said, "Hey, do you remember me? I'm Linda. When I was a child, I was living in the shelter with my mom. And now I'm living here with my children." And Tamara, she was shocked. She was devastated. She said what she was doing was to fight poverty and to help people to break out of this vicious circle so that children would have better chance in life and not repeat the pattern of their parents' life. But this was wrong. This repeated cycle was wrong. And now I'm thinking, why this young lady Linda was repeating her mother's life, and what helped me to have another life. And I think it was luck, because when I was in 10th grade, I participated in that Leader of 21st Century show. This is a very fancy name, but this TV game, this trivia game for high school kids, helped me a lot. It gave me opportunity to have a better life, because I won 2 games and I won more than $1,000 there. And back in 2002, it was a windfall. It was more than my mom earned in 1 year. And with this money, I was able to buy textbooks. I was able to have preparation courses to university, and I was admitted. I got scholarship to study, and I got a profession. Well, my grandmother was illiterate. My mother dropped out of school after 8 grades. And I'm the first child in my entire extended family, not only to have higher education, but also to study abroad, because after I graduated, I also won gymnast scholarship to study in the UK, for which I am eternally grateful to British taxpayers. And also I earned some professional certificates. So what made the difference between Linda and me was luck and education. Education was a key that opened many doors for me. That books my mother was reading to me when I was a little child in a tiny, tiny cold house, it all paid off, because those books made me thirsty for knowledge. And now, in the very beginning, I was at disadvantage. I was 10 steps behind my peers. 1 step behind because I had no father. 1 step behind because sometimes I was malnourished. 1 step behind because all that darkness and cold winters. 1 step behind because, well, my kids are right, I never had a bike. And the list goes on. But I somehow overcame all this, and here I am, standing in front of you. What made the difference for me? What I want to say, I could have wrapped up this speech nicely by saying, hey, look at me, another rags to riches story, another self-made case, no powerful parent, no pile of money to bounce off as from trampoline. But I'm not a self-made case. I'm a charity case. I'm here because in my life, I had many people with big, warm, kind hearts who helped us, who gave us warm hearts, who paid our electricity bills, who gave us money and food, and that all made a difference for me. And now, we are sometimes so focused on ourselves, on trying to become a better version of ourselves, on trying to be successful and make a career and be rich and happy. We are so busy, we don't have time to look back and to notice people who are 10 steps behind us. And sometimes we feel like our contribution is so little, we won't make an impact. But here I am with my example showing that any contribution could make an impact. And I want you just to look back, to notice that people, to give them your hand and to try and make a difference. Take 15